Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all again, and some of you for the first time. Tonight I just wanted to go through the library PromEx. Paul sort of gave a good sort of intro as to what it is. We recently used it in a project at Alembic, client project, and it was quite delightful how easy it was to set up and get going in that client's infrastructure. And also, as part of that process, we did a bit of research about how to sort of bootstrap it in your local environment, or using cloud technology if you don't have a massive infrastructure like our client does. So thought I'd just go through that journey in a talk, as Paul said, see how easy it is to get going with it. So what is it? PromEx is a library. The maintainer, author is Alex Koutmos, and it turns beam telemetry, which is becoming the standardized way of getting metrics out of beam applications, takes that telemetry and turns it into metrics that can be scraped by Prometheus. And if you don't know what Prometheus is, it's an open source time series metrics monitoring platform, very popular in application and infrastructure monitoring, and it works under the the so-called pull model, where you tell Prometheus where all your applications that need to be monitored are. It goes out and scrapes off some web endpoint a whole bunch of metrics and stores that in a time series. And we'll see very quickly what that looks like at a low level. Obviously, you then want to look at that, so you need to connect it to something to visualize that. But metrics are one of the so-called 3 pillars of observability. I was trying to find, I think there is a link, possibly a book, an O'Reilly book, that introduced the term for the first time. Others may know that, but the 3 pillars are being metrics. So basically, what is your application or infrastructure doing, generating data about its behavior in sort of in a time series, and the other pillars are logs. So in Elixir, we've got logger, spit out logs they get possibly aggregated somewhere into some kind of log management system, and they can be queried to work out what's going on, to look at errors. And the third pillar, events tracing, which is, I guess, a bit of a deeper kind of observation on the behavior and of your code, and how requests and responses flow through systems. So Prometheus is all about metrics. And PromEx is all about getting metrics out of the beam. And the way it does that is through so-called plugins that attach to the telemetry events that different libraries as well as the beam produce. So some of the plugins that PromEx already has available are for Phoenix, Ecto, some Absinthe. There's some lower level plug and Cowboy ones in there as well. Oban, which is a popular, becoming quite a popular library for job queuing, job management, etc. Plugins grab the telemetry, and PromEx then turns them into metrics. But a really great bonus with PromEx is that not only does it grab all your data and push it somewhere, it also has a whole bunch of pre-built Grafana dashboards that can be uploaded directly from your application to some Grafana instance running somewhere. And again, for anyone who's not familiar with what Grafana is, it's a open source analytics and visualization platform. It can, and both Prometheus and Grafana, there's cloud offerings you can run locally with Docker, etc. And yeah, there's a little screen grab of actually what PromEx looks like. Probably too small to see, but we'll look at that in more detail very soon. And as anyone who's worked with Prometheus, it has its own query language, a bit like SQL, but with a time series bent. Anyone who's worked with Grafana, I'm looking at you, Scott, will know that there's a lot to it. It's very finicky getting your dashboards set up exactly the way you want, querying the data, converting counters into rates, etc., etc. And this feature in PromEx takes care of all of that for the built-in basics like Phoenix and Ecto, and yeah, makes it kind of a no-brainer. And that was what was really sort of delightful about using it.
Just a question on that. What format do they expose the Grafana dashboards in?
So JSON gets uploaded to Grafana. So there's actually I haven't got it open, but I will show it. There's EEX templates that produce JSON and that get uploaded. So Grafana allows you to configure your dashboard in a JSON format. So saying what panels you've got and what queries and what data sources, etc. And basically, yeah, PromEx has a whole bunch of templates that it uses to build those JSON files and then uploads to Grafana. If you have an appropriately authorized API key for your Grafana instance. So yeah, that's how it works, and yeah, it makes it quite repeatable rather than sort of fighting with the Grafana GUI.
Yeah, I've got to say, like, saving that in your repo as a JSON blob sounds pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what I won't be going through this tonight, but yeah, you can write your own plugins and you can write your own charts, dashboards. Sorry, and they're saved in your repository. So you can version them, and yeah, if you have a multi-environment staging, production, etc., as you update, they'll get rolled forward, and that's a big headache if you're only using the point-and-click interfaces on multiple Grafana instances. So again, it just makes it super easy. So yeah, it's very distinct from my previous use of Grafana, where we actually did do some of the JSON stuff, but most of it was bespoke and point and click in the interface.
I don't remember if Grafana Cloud supports that, but Helm chart for Grafana and AWS through Terraform supports basically passing these dashboards as a payload, either JSON or link to their marketplace. And that what makes it super cool is that basically your Grafana becomes stateless. You can recreate that very easily without.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That, so yeah, Grafana Cloud is actually what I'm going to demo. So that's one difference from I guess the summary blurb that I gave to Paul, is that rather than running Grafana locally in this demo, I'm actually using Grafana Cloud. So we can see that that working. That may or may not be the same as how it works in AWS, but yeah, it's the effect is the end effect is probably quite similar. So yeah, everything I'm going to show here will be available at that GitHub repo. There's heaps of demos of PromEx. There's some good videos and of people people working through it, and there's heaps of stuff about how to stand up Prometheus and Grafana in like in a Dockerized kind of environment. But yeah, I'll put my bent on it at that repo, so that later on people can take that down and look at it from the video. The code is not there yet. I have to reorganize it first before I push it there. But it will be there when you watch this after the fact through the power of television. So at that point, let's jump in and have a look at PromEx. So I will jump over to my editor. So setup is relatively straightforward. There's like a lot of Elixir libraries. There's a little bit of configuration and creating some modules, customization required, but it's not too bad. The first step is grabbing PromEx. So literally adding a line to your mix.exs, and then following through the guides. One of the next steps is to so that you can serve up your metrics for Prometheus to grab them. There's a change to the endpoint. So we just put it there. PromEx provides a little plug. So you drop that into your endpoint somewhere above where you've got your telemetry. This application, by the way, is a Phoenix generated application. For demo purposes, using it's not 1.6, but it's just a standard generated application. So we drop that plug in, and that will assist in serving up a little metric server for those metrics to be made available. And then there is I won't show it because I've lost it in my history, but there is PromEx comes with a generator, and which you run against your application, and it will build a little module for you. Up to the top here. So yeah, my application is called PromEx demo. It generates this PromEx file and gives a whole lot of guidance about how to set it up and configure it. We'll have a look at config in a sec. And then if we go down past the comments, this is where you define what you want to be logged from telemetry. So application is some basic information about your running application, beam stats, memory, schedulers, that sort of thing. And then if you're doing a Phoenix app, it's a kind of no-brainer to drop the Phoenix plugin in there. A little bit of configuration, and again, if you're using Ecto, which most of us probably are, there's an Ecto plugin. If you happen to be using LiveView, and Absinthe, popular GraphQL library, very good GraphQL library, also has a plugin, and there's a roadmap of a few others that Alex has in the pipeline there, and you can also, as the comments say, you can write your own plugin. I haven't done that. Plan to. There's a library that we use quite a lot that I think could be very handy to have a PromEx plugin for it. So it's something that I'm looking at doing, but haven't done it yet. At this stage, it's not too bad. I can run through it, an existing plugin very quickly to see what's involved. You configure, if you want dashboards, you configure this data source ID. So Grafana, you can you configure data sources such as Prometheus, but you can also, Grafana can also query from vast numbers of different data sources, all sorts of different ops kind of platforms, as well as databases like Postgres and MySQL, etc. So you say where you want that data to ultimately end up, and then you tell it which dashboards you would like. And yeah, so they're just JSON files. Once they're served up, they're under the hood, they're actually templates, EX templates that generate these on demand. What's next? As always, put something into our application supervision tree. I just happen to have put it at the top. It's probably good to put it fairly close to the top of the supervision tree so that it can pick up all the telemetry events from other libraries. I'm not 100% sure whether the actual telemetry needs to go above. That could be the Phoenix live view telemetry thing. I'm not 100% sure about that, but anyway, we put PromEx into our supervision tree, and when we boot our application, it should run. So that's the Elixir side. Not a huge amount there, and it's boilerplate. You sort of just mix and match what you want, comment things out that you don't need, etc. And that's if you're just using all the built-ins, that's kind of it. But yeah, how do we test this? Say we want to run locally, or so the approach that I've seen a few people take, and we did as well too when we were running locally, was to get Prometheus itself up and running in Docker. So we can have a quick look at that. Yeah, very minimalist Prometheus Docker file, the Docker Compose file here. Also got the Postgres service running. You could have that running outside of Docker, but in this example, I've got it in there. Yeah, so we pulled down Prometheus and we point it at some configuration. And that's where the magic happens, is in the Prometheus configuration file. So if we go to that guy, yeah. So we're saying we want to scrape our application's metrics endpoint every 15 seconds. We're statically, just for local development purposes, we're pointing back at the host, because I'll be running the application natively. The Elixir app itself isn't in Docker, so yeah, we use the magic of Docker networking to get access to the host and a particular port that we've set up, where the metrics are available. And then for the Grafana side, we at this point in the file, we've configured everything we need to get Prometheus to start storing our time series metrics. But if we want to visualize, we need to push that somewhere. There's a couple of ways of doing that. So we stood up a Grafana in our Docker file, but I decided for this demo to use Grafana Cloud, and so Grafana and Prometheus have this feature called remote write. Well, I think it's a Prometheus feature, but Grafana supports it, where you can point your Prometheus at a service and it will push metrics that it has collected to that service. So yeah, I have an account on Grafana Cloud. It's my username, but I'm not going to show you my password for obvious reasons. And with that set up, it should relay the metrics up to Grafana Cloud. And yeah, and that in terms of, oh, and there's one more bit to the configuration story, which is our, back in Elixir land, our compile time or runtime configuration. In this particular demo, I've just done everything in compile time, so in config.exs. So enabling PromEx and specifying where on our, what endpoint on our application we're going to have all those metrics available to be scraped. So the port, and that port is the same one as on line 8 there. And the path is metrics, and that's a standard. I think that's the default sort of Prometheus assumes. And then for the Grafana side, we, for the purpose of uploading our charts, we need to tell it where to find Grafana. So yeah, a bit more environment configuration for that. Again, I'm not going to show you my tokens if I can avoid it for obvious reasons. And we tell it where in Grafana, our Grafana instance, we want to put the dashboards. And Grafana has the concept of a folder. And then we say, yes, we want to, and this is where sort of deploying new versions of charts, of dashboards, especially custom ones. When you deploy, restart your application, this setting will upload the dashboards so that you get the fresh ones. And as Igor said, it makes make your Grafana even more stateless. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the walls of code and configuration. So what do these metrics look like in their raw form? I will leave the cozy confines of my editor. So I've got my application running, and I've gone to the metrics endpoint, and you can see this massive wall of text. And this is Prometheus. We have all these different time series listed here, and then tags, metadata about that time series, and then some value. So this has got something to do with ecto query results, how many results are returned. And if I was to do a search for Phoenix, yeah, we can see a whole bunch of metrics related to our Phoenix endpoints. So we've got some kind of Phoenix controller here, a path, this demo app started building some kind of to-do thing, one of the stock standard demo things you do, and it's saying we've had. I'm assuming that means there's been a total of 411 successful, as in HTTP code 200 results there. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. When I first learned about Prometheus, that all the metrics were in plain text like this, but yeah. So we're browsing this in a web browser, but Prometheus is hitting the same endpoint and and bringing all this, parsing all this data in and storing it. So, and yeah, at this point, yeah, we've got metrics being stored, but how do we use them? So the next step, of course, is Grafana. So just to appease the demo gods, I will I won't bury the lead and go straight into Grafana Cloud and show you some of these, what's a good one, charts coming from, so this is Grafana Cloud in the cloud being fed metrics from my local machine. And I've been generating some synthetic traffic, just hitting a couple of the endpoints in there, one that purposely returns errors and one that's okay. So if we scroll down here, we can see sort of response times bucketed into different groups, and so we're performing quite well. 4 millisecond response times, between 2 and 4 most of the time. Small payloads, and more detailed information about request times, split out by the different endpoints and the HTTP codes, and it goes on. And all of this comes for free with with PromEx. It's taken care of all of this. So looking behind the curtain a little bit, so this is what the chart looks like. Let's see if I can fill that up. That's what it looks like in JSON format. There's a whole bunch of configuration, but here's some PromQL, sorry. So here's some queries that PromEx is already built in to get something and turn it into a rate for us and display that. So that's probably some kind of counter, and it's it's looking at the rate over an interval. So you don't need to worry about any of that stuff, setting up axes, colors. It's all there for free. That is that's sort of showing it already set up. What I can do, just to prove how simple the upload process is, now that we've seen it and we know that it works, if I go to here, so these are where all the charts from the demo are. If I actually delete all of them, so they're gone now. No more charts. The data is still there, but there are no charts. And then if I go to my terminal, so I've been generating some synthetic traffic over there, but if I focus on this one, let's see if I can find it. So this is just IEX. So if I stop the application and then rerun, and hopefully through all the logs, there we go. Okay, so it's PromEx has complained here because it can't find that folder, that PromEx demo folder. So it knows something's up. And then further down here, a whole bunch of log output saying that those templates have been generated and uploaded to Grafana. And then if I go back to Grafana Cloud, refresh, my folder's back. And if I go to search for some dashboards and look into here, there's another one of the built-in ones, but they've all come back. That's why. Invigorate for the fail. So they've all come back. And so I'm blown away, at least part of the configuration of of my Grafana, and yeah, just by restarting the Elixir applications, all come back. Yeah, so that whole feature is very delightful, it's pleasing how simple it was. So yes, that is PromEx. I think I had one more slide. Okay, so there is one pain point with this setup, is that we still need to run Prometheus somewhere. So Grafana's in the cloud. We can potentially deploy our app, which is just running locally, but we can put that somewhere on fly.io or Elixir or wherever. But we, unless your platform has a Prometheus, or you're in a big Kubernetes environment, you can just abracadabra, spin up a Prometheus somewhere in there through the power of Go and YAML. Yeah, you're kind of stuck. So there is another thing called Grafana Agent, I think it's called, which supports that remote write feature I mentioned earlier. And it's a lightweight kind of collector and avoids the need to actually have the Prometheus in between. And it's on the roadmap for PromEx to kind of bring that in. Grafana Agent, I believe, is a Go library, but bring it in somehow into PromEx, so that you can go directly from your Elixir application to Grafana Cloud or a Grafana instance without that intermediate step of having a Prometheus somewhere. In the situation where I have been using PromEx, it's not a problem because we're in a big Kubernetes environment and all that infrastructure already existed. But yeah, I think very soon it will be quite painless to use PromEx with pretty much no intermediary infrastructure. You can be completely cloud and not have the expense of potentially running your own time series database. And yes, I, as mentioned earlier, didn't get to look at plugins, but hopefully I will be writing one for a library that we use at Alembic a fair bit. Happy to report back when we do that, how that goes. But yes, that was it. Thanks for your attention. And were there any further questions?
Thanks, Rob. I have just a small comment that potentially first pain point, with enough money, Grafana Cloud itself have a Prometheus as a part of their plans. So you can just set up to use their Prometheus to scrape you up, but it gets expensive quite quickly. Right.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I kind of definitely ignored that kind of option of running a Prometheus somewhere or having some kind of service. Yeah, but I haven't really, and I also haven't delved too much into Grafana Cloud, what it offers. But yeah, that's probably a good point. But yes, if you don't need to retain things for a while, very long, or I'm sure, using not having that intermediate time series database will need big savings. Sorry.
That's actually very interesting, because their pricing model, not on the amount of data you push there, rather amount of metrics and the cardinality of them. So when you open metrics, there was already way too many of them, right? And I don't remember how many they give you, something like 10,000 metrics or something like this. And stock Kubernetes cluster out of the box produces like 55,000 or something. So you need to like filter out a lot to not allow them to scrape. Or that we've been burned by that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in this case with a Phoenix application, the free tier I'm actually on the free trial, so I'm not 100% sure, but whether it will work on the free tier, because when you sign up for Grafana Cloud, you get like a 14-day demo or something, and they do say, the free tier is a useful free tier, but yeah, I'm sure you quickly run into limits there. So yeah, it's that's definitely a foot gun to be aware of.
Yeah, we use the paid one, but they have their own dashboard. You even showed that they have a dashboard for the billing, and they really quickly drop us the message of like, yeah, if you will continue at that pace, the bill will be like $7,000 or something.
All right.
So yeah.
Where is it? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So yes, demo and free tier, it's all zeros, but yeah, like with a lot of these things, can add up quickly.
Cool. Anyone got any further questions for Rob?
So just to clarify, the remote write, that was skipping Prometheus as a time series database and going straight to Grafana for graphing?
Not necessarily. Remote write is it's something that's typically data produced by Prometheus, and then there's the other end is Grafana. I think the idea is that things other than Prometheus could implement the write side of or the sending side of that remote write, and then therefore avoid and just have like a small cache. I'm not actually sure how Grafana, the Grafana agent one works, but conceivably it could be just storing stuff in memory long enough to ferry it over, and as opposed to the setup I have in this demo, where I've got a real Prometheus storing data on my somewhere on my local machine, and
cool. I mean, I think if it's going to be useful, you want to store it for some amount of time because you might want to debug back to that point.
I believe that the remote write is also for Prometheus, because Grafana itself not the storage, it's only visualization. So it's probably remote write for Prometheus, and they like strongly advised against using that. But I think use case for remote writes, if you have like cron job, there's like you don't have an endpoint to come and scrape, right? So you want to push when you run that.
Cool, thank you.
No worries.